Hello, listeners. This is Kat, and welcome back to Put Your Hands Up Podfics. This will be the continuation of Little Acts of Kindness. This will be Part 100, Chapter 100, entitled Villain Spotlight. Tomura was currently playing video games when the screen went dark. Tomura, Sensei greeted. The boy perked up and returned the greeting. Sensei, he said before he flopped across the couch in front of the TV. Sensei, where's Kurogiri? He asked. The servant never seemed to be around anymore, and it was annoying and made him scratch his neck when he wanted something, but Kurogiri wasn't around to fetch it for him. He's out, the man replied on the TV. Doing things for me, Sensei replied. Tomura huffed. What is he doing? He asked. Not your concern, Tomura, the man answered. Tomura whined, huffing. When will I get a new Nomu? Not any time soon. You need to get stronger. But Sensei, how can I kill All Might without a Nomu? Tomura questioned. He just wanted to get rid of the #1 hero, the stupid symbol of peace that everyone worshipped. It was irritating. He started scratching at his neck again. I told you, you're no longer allowed to try and kill All Might or attack UA until you've proven yourself to be strong enough to handle the mission, the voice said. You said I could destroy anything I wanted, though, he said. I said that in the sense of you being able to use your quirk freely on the objects where you were housed, the man stated. Tomura grumbled, hand clenching tightly around the controller he was holding, the other still scratching at his neck. The controller crumbled to dust. Why can't I attack UA? I've grown stronger. I've added members to my party now, he said. You have yet to prove you can effectively lead this team of yours, and the last Nomu you used were all killed in the reckless attack on Hosu. I didn't raise you to be a brat that would throw temper tantrums. You wanted to change Hero Society, but so far you've not shown any of the cleverness I would expect from someone that would one day take over from me, his sensei said. Tomura glared, looking down at the ground, unhappy with what his sensei was saying. Ever since the USJ attack, the man seemed to be upset at him, and it got worse after the sports festival, the man outright forbidding him from attacking UA. Tomura wasn't weak. He learned from his mistake. He knew he needed a strong party to back him up and not just a bunch of weak noobs. He also knew that he shouldn't have underestimated the NPCs leading up to the boss fight. Then let me prove myself. Tell me what to do and I'll do it, he said. There was a pause. I will figure out something for you to do, but until then, don't do anything foolish. I don't want you getting captured, the voice coming through the screen said. Tomura smiled, even as he felt his lips split. Thank you, Sensei. I promise I won't let you down, the boy said, eager to prove his worth to the man. I'm sure you won't, his sensei said, and the screen went back to his video game he had been playing, where Tomura was greeted with a game over screen. He pouted. Kodai was working in the laboratory when his personal phone rang. He raised an eyebrow, heading to his phone, wondering who would be calling him. Once he saw who it was, he answered. Dr. Garaki here. What can I do for you? He asked. I would like to request your assistance. The experimental version that you have provided is proving too unstable to work with, and we would like to get a more stable version that would more permanently do the job. Kodai gave a hum. I did tell you that product was unfinished when you requested I deliver it, he chided. It had been interesting working with the girl's quirk after all. I know, but we needed to know if your price was worth it. We've determined that it is, and would like to continue having you work on the drug. Kodai gave a hum. Very well, he agreed. After all, what they were asking him to create was very intriguing. And given he already was out of the tough experimentation phase of the work Sensei gave him, it was good to challenge himself. Sensei, though, seemed to run out of projects, besides for fine-tuning the Nomu, which was a bit annoying to say the least. Kyudai liked having plenty of things to work on. For now, though, he would like to busy himself with the other tasks. He still had things he needed to accomplish his own goals. There is another thing we would like to hire your service for. The other spoke, piquing Kyudai's interest. And what would this new project be? He asked. Have you heard of the drug called Dualize? Kyudai gave a hum. Yes, I have, he said, not revealing the people who created it used to work for all for one, until their services were rendered obsolete and they were cut off, nor that he also worked with the Hachisukas in order to make Dualize possible. Officially, they had been destroyed from producing the special trigger. Unofficially, he knew that they had rebuilt themselves over the years and created a new drug. It was interesting, and something he definitely kept an eye on. The drug and the work on the Nomus definitely helped in his understanding of how quirks worked to accomplish his own goal. And while doing the drug for these people was the opposite of what he was after, the girl's quirk was something he wanted to know, for its healing properties. We would like to know how Dualize works, and to create a neutralizer that will prevent people from being able to activate the second quirk. Kyudai's interest piqued at that, creating a neutralizer to a second quirk drug. Quirk suppressants exist, he pointed out. Yes, but they don't remove the second quirk, only suppress it. I will see what I can do. I'll send a message regarding payment, Kyudai said. Thank you, the other villain said, and the call ended. Kyudai looked around his office. Overhaul was really having some interesting projects. He might have to think about asking the man for some other things, and lower his price to the man. Since Sensei was so busy, it would be good to find other sources for side projects until Sensei could give him more work. He hoped the man would give him more projects where Kyudai could draw the man's blood. He very much needed more samples to accomplish his goal. It was only a shame that the man's children didn't acquire his quirk. Atsuhiro chuckled as he found another one of his roommate's blades. The hero killer kept them all around the house they were renting. He grabbed it, compressing it, and then tossing the marble up and down. He moved back through the house, leaning against the wall, where he saw Chizome sitting at the table, drinking some coffee. Good morning, Atsuhiro chirped out. Chizome grunted. Still sleepy, he teased, earning a glare from the red eyes. Atsuhiro rolled a marble between his fingers, a sly smile playing at his lips. Chizome stared at him for a moment, eyes narrowing. Give me back my sword, the man said, tone annoyed. Atsuhiro laughed. You shouldn't just leave them lying around, he purred out, and flicked the marble towards Chizome. He snapped his finger, the sword coming back out, and Atsuhiro watched the other move in a blur, hand snapping around the handle of the blade, and then Chizome had the sword pointed at his throat. How many times do I have to tell you not to touch my weapons? The man said, glaring at him. I can't help it if you leave them where anybody could find them, he said. Chizome huffed. They were hidden. If you didn't seek them out, then you wouldn't find them, he retorted, moving the blade and placing it on the table. You mentioned having found me some targets, Chizome questioned. That's right, Atsuhiro said, pulling out another marble, and with a flourish and a snap, he had 4 folders in his hand, fanned out. Each folder had a picture of a person. The first was a minor pro hero called Runner Man. She had a mild speed quirk, and in her files were notes about her. She's an arrogant hero who promotes things. She doesn't actually help people, blaming the high population as for why she can't go after criminals, and also blames sexism and Ingenium as to why the few that she does go after escape, despite Ingenium having worked in a different city. Definitely a target worth being culled. The next hero was a male who went by Morse code. The man didn't do much hero work, but was a radio station host. He was also anti-LGBTQ+ community, which Atsuhiro found personally offensive being bi. The third target was an underground hero called Background Hero Number 4, a hero of unknown gender who could create faint copies of themselves. If the copy ever came into the spotlight, they froze up. The target wasn't really a bad person, but they weren't good at hero work either. They weren't a true hero. The fourth was the pro-hero Lion. He was a mutation hero who had lion characteristics. His roar could stun people for a few seconds. He was a standard above-ground hero doing it for the money and fame. Atsuhiro watched as Chizame looked over the 4 heroes who were all in the same prefecture. "You picked good targets," the man finally stated after a moment. Atsuhiro smiled at the praise, pleased that Chizame approved of it. "We will move to this city and start gathering the information needed," Chizame said. He gave a nod in response, and for the rest of the day the two worked on packing up, made easy by his quirk. After they took everything they wanted from the house, Atsuhiro pulled out a couple of marbles and threw them, snapping his fingers, and the 2 people locked away yelped as they fell to the floor. "Thank you for your hospitality," Atsuhiro said, bowing with a flourish, mask on his face before he turned and left, following Chizame, who had already started to leave. "Hey, wait for me," he called out. "Stop being so slow, then," Chizame retorted. Atsuhiro pouted. Dabi sighed, staring at the container. It was that time again when he needed to dye his hair, since the roots were starting to show. It was so annoying to have to touch it up every couple of weeks, or before he headed out in public so people didn't know his hair wasn't black. And given he was about to meet up with Giran tomorrow, he had to make sure it was good. He dyed his hair, let the dye sit for 30 minutes, and then washed it out. He dried his hair and checked to make sure he didn't miss any spots. Once done, he stretched. He exited out of the house, heading for a grocery store. He picked up several groceries, though he grimaced at the small amount of cash. He really hoped Giran had some work for him. He really needed to get paid. And as much fun as bothering Endeavor and his sidekicks was, it didn't actually pay the expenses of living. The dark-haired man came back home, holding a couple bags of groceries. He set them on the table and started putting them away. He lived in a rather small apartment, a bedroom, bathroom, kitchen, and living room, and that was it. The kitchen and living room space were basically combined. Dabi didn't mind how small it was. What he did mind was that his neighbors often didn't have any consideration and would play loud noises. Maybe he should get rid of them. But he also couldn't be bothered, and they would just be filled with some other assholes. At least these neighbors minded their own business. He didn't need some noisy person trying to get into his business. The next day, Dabi was sitting in the booth across from Giran. "So, you got any work for me?" he asked. "Sure," the man said. "I do have some questions for you. See if you're interested in joining a villain group," he said. Dabi scoffed. "I'm not interested in joining some small fry and having to protect their asses," he said. "I have a group that has some big plans for completely destroying Hero Society," Giran said, "including killing All Might." Dabi gave a grunt, frowning. "I'm really not that interested in working with others. Just give me the jobs," he said. "Just think about it," Giran said, sliding the folders over as Dabi handed over a bit of money. He paid the informant for where to find clients. The clients would pay him more than he spent on the information to do what they wanted, and it rather worked out. Sure, if he had his own way of finding clients, it'd be more profitable, but he wasn't in this for the money. He was in it for a chance at bringing down Endeavor, to reveal the truth about the number 2 hero. He took the information and said goodbye to the information broker before he left, looking through the information. Seeing one that looked interesting, he changed direction and made his way to the meetup spot. After texting the number that he was on his way. All right, listeners, this concludes chapter 100 of Little Acts of Kindness. Chapter 101 will be up next. There's 122 chapters total in this first fic in the author's series, and this chapter for chapter 100 finishes the arc that we were just in. So the last and final arc, which will be arc 6, will be up next. I'm curious to hear what you all thought. I can't believe we made it finally to 100 chapters of this one. So I really like the fact that the authors did a little bit of a shift here. We've seen some interesting kind of updates on where some of these other characters are at. We're seeing kind of glimpses into the villain side of things and what's kind of going on there. So I want to hear your theories, your ideas, what you're thinking about everything so far. And I personally am really happy that we're getting kind of a glimpse at, some of the characterizations for like Dabi and Shigaraki and kind of what he's up to as well. So please drop those comments below. And if you have that opportunity to slide over to AO3, leaving those comments and kudos to the original author, I'm sure, as always, it is much appreciated. Thank you all so much for listening.